cereals, yogurt, low-fat dressing, muesli bars, and even that healthy juice. Do you think you know what's in them? Let's find out. Today I'm comparing your favorite supermarket products and exposing where those sneaky sugars are hiding, the smartest swaps to support your gut, brain, and metabolism. And also we're gonna cover why some of the healthiest foods have more sugar than cake, the worst takeaway foods, how cereals can actually accelerate aging, the sources that make you sick, how low-fat dressings trick your hunger hormone, and how even if you're eating healthy, you can be having as much as 25 teaspoons of sugar a day, which is 4 times roughly the limit that you should be having. Now stick around to the end because I'll show you how to pair your meals and even the sweet treats you want sometimes in a way that buffers the damage, protects your gut, takes the load off the liver, and stops the sugar creeping into your waistline. All right, why should you care? Well, here's what happens when you eat sugar, including those healthy natural sugars. Sugar breaks down to fructose and glucose, and the glucose is used as quick energy. And if there's too much of it, it gets stored in the liver. And if the liver is overwhelmed, it gets stored as fat. So that's how sugar actually makes you fat. Now that's only half the story, because when you eat sugar, it goes down through the gut and feeds the bad bacteria and pushes out the good bacteria. And that disrupts the microbiome, damages the gut wall, and it creates a vicious cycle of cravings, bloating, mood swings, and fat storage, particularly around the belly. Hi guys, I'm Leilani. I'm a clinical nutritionist and a chef, and I'm here to help you get great gut health in a few minutes a day with the smartest swaps. And I'm here to simplify the science and teach you what most doctors won't tell you. So let's get into it. Okay, the first thing you need to know is how, and bear with me, to read a label. But it's very simple. You're just gonna look at the sugars, and 4 grams equals 1 teaspoon of sugar. Okay, so let me put that into a practical format for you. We have 3 yogurts. Now people love yogurt, it's a health food. If you wanna know the best dairy for your health, I've got a talk on that and I'll put the card right here so you can go and check it out. But look, we've got here a vanilla and a plain Greek. Now, which do you think they have roughly the same amount of sugar? The different sugars? Take a second to guess what you think the sugar content is of both. All right, I'll tell you. So the one without, the plain one that is a Greek style yogurt has not even 1 teaspoon, which you'd think is a lot, but it's actually buffered by a good amount of fat. It's not too bad, because this one has 3.5 teaspoons. So even though it's just a vanilla and they look very similar, you can have 1/3 of the amount of sugar just by choosing this one and just adding a little bit of your own sweetness to it. So you might spread that onto, well, I'm gonna go at the end, I'm gonna tell you how to buffer this. If you do want things like the sweet versions, how to pair it so that it doesn't put the damage on your body as much. Now, I'm gonna show you why reading the label matters, okay? This little guy it's a good brand, and it's a passion fruit twist. Small, like you can see the size of it, I would easily finish that. It's got 6 teaspoons of sugar in it, okay? So very sneaky, 24.6 teaspoons of sugar. So you've got to read the labels and then do a little bit of math. All right, now moving on to muesli bars. Again, looking at labels. Okay, so 2 similar muesli bars, same brand. I'll get you to have a look at them and have a think of how much sugar you might think is in both of them. Now, I'll give you an example. This one here on the right has, per muesli bar, has 2.5 teaspoons of sugar, whereas this one that does say low sugar, and it's also gluten-free, has 1/4 teaspoon. So very similar product, but just by having a look at the label, it's going to make a big difference. Now, the other thing is you can obviously make your own muesli bars. That's a really good idea as well. But what we're going to look at is, I want to quickly teach you what to look for in 100 grams, because each serving size is different. So if you really want to compare apples to apples, you're going to look at the grams. So what you're looking for is less than 5 grams per 100 grams of product, okay, or 100 mils, so less than 5. So comparing our two muesli bars, we've got the one on the sugary one has 30 grams per 100, over 8 times the amount of sugar. And this one has 3.5. Okay, so you're under the 5 grams. So that's what you're looking for on the labels. Moving on to cereals. Now, if you're part of my generation, you'll remember this. I think we grew up with these. Oh my God. The problem with these, they're ultra processed in a way that strips the natural fiber and it denatures the protein. So it creates compounds like AGE that actually accelerate aging. It inflames the gut, damages the brain, and messes with metabolism. It also interferes with insulin. So cereals aren't really a great product, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I eat them and I'll go through a couple today because that's just the way it is. And again, at the end, I'll tell you how to eat them so it reduces, it kind of buffers that load, that sugar load to the liver and to the microbiome. But really, if you can take out cereals, there's a lot more worse things going on in cereals. I just won't go into them today. I've got a whole series on the best breakfasts for busy mornings that boost gut health. So I'll put the card there to the channel so you can go and check it out. And you can make them, they're meal prep style, a lot of them. So it's just quick and easy, because I know it is so quick and easy to have cereal. But like looking at, say, two of quite popular ones, at least in Australia, you've got Cocoa Pops and Sultana Brown. And I must say, I was pretty surprised by how much sugar was in Sultana Brown. Now, this is a very small packet. Like my son, who's 7, would eat 2 of these packets. And I, if I was pouring cereal, would easily eat 3. Like there's nothing in them. So I'll give you that example again. This one here, per serving just in this box has 3 teaspoons of sugar. But realistically, if you were going to eat probably about 100 grams, which we'll compare that, it's 8 teaspoons of sugar. So that's more than cake. So that's why you need to look at the labels. And this one, which the fiber does help the sugar, but the buffer the sugar a little bit, but it's still got about the same as Cocoa Puffs, slightly less, just less than 3 teaspoons per packet and 7 teaspoons per 100. So there's really not great options out there. Now, if you want to know more about how sugar impacts the body, and it's a very interesting talk that I'm just about to release, and it's well worth hearing about it because I go into all these different details and things that you can do on a practical day-to-day basis. Ring the bell, hit subscribe so you get the notification for that, because it'll be coming out in about a week or 2. All right, moving on, we go to drinks. Now, obviously Coke and Sprite, all that, it's like loaded with sugar, but you'll be surprised in some of the healthy drinks like aloe vera, which I don't have, an aloe vera juice, it is crazy amount of sugar. Like don't even think about drinking that stuff. But if you've ever tried the plant, you'll realize why it has so much sugar. It's good on the skin for infections, but I don't know about eating it. Anyway, so let's cover some of that stuff now. Juice. Okay, so we've got 2 juices here. What do we consider like a healthy juice, right? A nudie juice, and then just like something that you might give your kid. Now, even the natural cold pressed juices have a lot. So this guy here actually has 7 teaspoons of sugar in it. And that's almost as much as a can of Coke. This one here that you would feed your kid, which is small as, has just under 6 teaspoons of sugar, which is the equivalent to about 2 to 3 cookies. So you got to think, how much sugar are these kids eating at the end of the day when you're just like palming them off? So, what do you do with this stuff? Because I'm not saying never eat it. When it comes to juice, I will tell you like a hack that helps. So you'll water it down, definitely. Like, so with my son, I'll give him juice, half juice, and then I'll add water with the rest of it. But if you want to upgrade it, at least for an adult, put a bit of chia seeds in there, a spoon of it, because that helps buffer it. But it also adds gut healthy benefits if you are going to go that way. The other option, get yourself a cordial, right? So that way you can even, this is the cordial I like, and it's kind of got a rose flavor, but you can pour what you want. So you could do a little dribble of cordial and a lot of water, and then just slowly decrease it, particularly with kids, because the more you have sugar, the more you have the gut bacteria that tell you want sugar. And so going cold turkey doesn't really work that well, because you just get these intense cravings, because we're like the puppets of, if we're the puppets, the microbiome are pulling our strings. Yeah, so you need to slow it down and lower it slowly. So if you have 3 teaspoons of sugar in your coffee in the morning, then lower it down to 2 for a week, then go to 1.5, then go to 1. So gradually wean your way off. You'll actually start to be able to taste the food. And I have a talk on fermented foods, and that sour element actually naturally changes the microbiome to be more positive. So your bad bugs will actually go down and your cravings will go down. So I'll put the card here if you want to go check it out. Now going on to coffee. Okay, now I know this is like not something you might drink every day, but I just want to give you an idea of why you need to read the label. So remember, we've got 4 grams is 1 teaspoon, and 100 mils, you're looking at under 5 grams, okay, ideally. So this is kind of a good brand in Australia. It's a caramel latte. Guess how much sugar is in that? 13 teaspoons of sugar, which is about 1.5 cans of Coke. So you just got to look at the labels. Now, a couple of other drinks that you might like to eat and want to know, or drink rather, want to know the sugar content is Gatorade. And this has 9 teaspoons of sugar, which is the equivalent of a king-size chocolate bar. Now, the peach tea, which again is really common and people love it, particularly I think Americans, you guys love iced tea. Make your own, that's the only way to avoid it. This thing's got 7.5 teaspoons of sugar. So you can see how it really, really adds up and it sneaks in there. And especially with the lemon, because the acid and the sugar balance out, you can't actually taste that it's so sweet. It's kind of like tonic. And later I'll go into some of the foods, the takeaway foods that have like sugar there and you'd never know it. Okay, but moving on to sauces, all right? And look, I know, we all know sauces are probably a bit sweet. Can you guess the #1 sauce that has the most sugar in it? It is sweet chili. And sweet chili, and then followed by barbecue. But sweet chili has 2.5 teaspoons per spoon. Hoisin has 2. Ketchup or tomato has 1 teaspoon, and barbecue sauce has 2 teaspoons per spoon. So that means if you take a spoon out, that's how much sugar is in that sauce. So it's a lot, right? That's conventional. But if you find and read the label, so I'll compare these two because they're both tomato sauce. This one here, the commercial brand has, let's go to 100 grams. Just to compare it, it has 25 grams per 100. This one here has 6. So you can see huge difference in sugar content, and that's why once you know your brands, you just keep going back. All right, moving on to dressings. Store-bought dressings have, particularly the low-fat one, have a lot of sugar. They also have some nasty products. I'll go into it, like inflammatory oils. I'll go into that in a second. But I'm going to compare these two. They are the same brand, but this is more on the low fat side. Okay, so check out that. And you've got, have a guess how much sugar is in these two. So this is the standard one. And then this one is a low fat. Now the low fat one, 100 ml. Okay, so essentially this has 1/3 of the amount of sugar. So this one's got 20 grams and this one has 6. So the full fat one has less sugar, because what happens with, once you take the fat out, it tastes like cardboard. So they have to add sugar to make it taste good. And as we know, sugar goes to the liver and then gets stored as fat when you have too much of it. So that's why pairing sugary meals is really, really important, or trying to cut it out as much as possible. I live in the real world. I'm not saying don't eat sugar. It's virtually impossible. But once upon a time, sugar was a treat. And now it is just something that is in everything. So you have to become savvy. You just got to learn how to read the labels and get used to that. Now, so something else. The last product I'm going to cover, or it's more of a category, because I, like a crazy person, went to the supermarket and I spent hours there, looked at all the labels for the most common foods. And these are the ones that I found that have so much sugar in them. And one that I wasn't thinking of at the time, but I realized later, is Asian takeaway food. Okay. The worst offenders being Chinese and Thai, which is kind of sad because I love both of those foods, but they are at least 50% sugar. So particularly cheap takeaway, if you make it yourself, you can definitely lower that content. And I'll tell you in a little while, like some of the better options when you're going to have Asian food, because it's amazing. In Australia, we have so much Asian food around and I love it. So I'm not saying don't eat it, but just be smart about it. So let's go to say something that you might know of a lot. And this is teriyaki. And teriyaki has, in just this per serving, because it's 4 serves, I did the calculation. So this has got 3 teaspoons of sugar per serving. Okay, the whole thing is 45 grams per 100. So remember we said we're looking at 5 grams per 100. This is 45. So that's why that's really, really high. And then moving on to honey, soy, and garlic, which if you look at the label, it's actually water and sugar. So the honey is a very, very small portion of it. Can't really believe the label. Let's be honest, we don't live in a perfect world. This has got 7 teaspoons per serving. So they're both very, very high. And that's why when you go to Asian food places, try not to have as much saucy stuff, because a lot of the sauces have huge amount of sugar. Rather have more like a grilled or a steamed protein. Or if you do have a saucy kind of meal like pad thai or something, have a salad on the side. Like they have these really beautiful cabbage salads, or something with a lot of fiber, because fiber is what is going to act as a buffer. It protects the liver, it feeds the good gut bugs, and it also helps with hunger hormone regulation. So on this, one of the better options I found is green curry paste. So this has got per 100, it's only 3 grams. So compared to the 45 from before, 3 grams, and you can add your own little bit of sugar to this because they do tend to like sugar. So there are options that are healthy. Now, I want to tell you, I didn't go into the dressings. So something like a dressing, and I'm not promoting that you eat this food, because it's so easy to make your own dressings. You can literally just do lemon or an acid, so a vinegar or lemon, and then extra virgin olive oil, and that's it. Or balsamic, or white balsamic is really nice. And just put that over your salad. If you want it creamy, you can, well, I've got all of these things in my gut health course, because I go into the best foods to eat, the cleanest foods for your microbiome that help boost gut health within your body. and also have a meal prep for a busy work week. And it's got all these different dressings, all these meal prep, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So if you're just feeling like a little bit lost, go and have a look at the details. I'll put the link below. And another thing before I get into this is if you want a cheat sheet on eating out for good gut health, so what are the smartest, best meals to choose for when you're out and about, I have a cheat sheet. It's a PDF. It's part of my Gut Love Club. It's totally free. Just put your name down, your email, and once a week I send you nutrition tips, gut health stuff, and cheat sheets once a month. So definitely go and jump on that boat, because I spend a lot of time putting these things together. So it's really practical for you. Now, so one of the reasons this messes with hunger hormones is that when you take the fat out of food, and it's a low fat, which is actually this one rather, low fat, then fat triggers leptin, and leptin is the hormone that says, stop eating, I'm full. And so if you don't have fat because it's been taken out, then leptin doesn't get triggered. And so you keep eating and you keep eating. And remember, sugar makes you fat because it goes through the liver, particularly the fructose. And that talk that I have on hidden sugars, it goes into fructose being something that you need to be very, very careful of eating, particularly if you're in the States and there's high fructose corn syrup, because that stuff is not good. And the other thing that's not good about industrial style salad dressings is the oils. They are totally pro-inflammatory and they mess with every part of your body. So just by making your own and swapping out for, say, an extra virgin olive oil, it's going to be almost a game changer for your health, just with simple swaps. Okay, so now just to go over some of the best pairings, all right? And these pairings are going to just reduce the sugar cravings. They're going to reduce, because you're reducing the sugar going into to feed the gut, you'll also reduce the cravings, but you're reducing the pathogenic bacteria that can actually continually make you sick and also bloated. So I do suggest, if you are going to have some of the cereals and cordials and juices and all those things, here's a few hacks, right? So number one, we've got yogurt. When you're going to have yogurt, even if it's the sweet kind, pair it with fiber such as, and good fats, nut or nut butter. Flaxseed is fantastic. Berries is fantastic. Low sugar granola, definitely like the muesli bars, go with that. And mixed berries, if I didn't say that already. So make it a whole kind of meal, not just about the yogurt. Now, the bars, obviously you want to swap for the low sugar version. Make your own. If you ever have a couple hours with the kids, they'll love it. And that way you can put your own amount of sugar in it. But if you are going to eat those, try to pair it with the protein. So even though they might not go that well together, maybe you have a boiled egg with that nut bar, with that oat bar rather. Cereals. So have cereals with, say, collagen protein powder or banana. And if you can have green banana, that's the ultimate, like greenish banana. That's really good for feeding the gut bugs, the good gut bugs. And then obviously berries and nuts on top of that. We've talked about sauces, we've talked about dressings. And with the Asian food, probably out of all the Asian food, that's the cleanest, it would be Japanese. But just having a mix of stuff, not things that are just dumped with those sauces, because they are just a bomb for your microbiome. And there's not really, if you're just going to eat it like a cake, you're going to feel the impact of the weight, and there's not much you can do about it if you're constantly eating those things. So maybe it's about having them once a week, because I'm all about balance. I drink alcohol, which is super, it's really bad for you, but I love wine. I grew up in the wine country, and I probably have like a glass of wine a day, which is too much and I would not recommend it. But if you want me to do a talk on the best alcohols to consume that do the least harm, because they are all a little bit harmful, though it's a complicated scenario, and I've researched a lot because I love to drink. But in moderation, you know, that sort of, I'm a mum now, so, but let me know in the comments and I'll do a whole talk on that, because that's probably something you guys want to see. As usual, let me know if there's any food or meal that you want me to cover. I'm happy to do the research and bring it to you like this. Thanks for watching.